Hello and welcome back to another episode of Fantasy Fortunes. Now, we are just about to enter Game Week 7 of the Premier League and the table is starting to take shape a little bit. We had dominant wins for Man City and Chelsea last weekend, as well as wins elsewhere for Tottenham, Man United, Liverpool and Arsenal. So we can see that they're probably going to be the top 6, I think, as most people thought they would be before the season. And obviously a lot of big scorers coming from those teams. But there's still big scorers to be had elsewhere and for lower costs. So now it's all about trying to find them. So without further ado, let's have a look at the Game Week 7 fixtures. So the first fixture then of Game Week 7, we see Huddersfield playing at home to Tottenham. Now Tottenham squeaked a 3-2 win against West Ham. I say squeak because they were very comfortably 3-0 up and they let 2 late goals in as well as getting a red card. And so they failed really to comfortably see out that game, but still scoring goals. They look a lot more comfortable away from home as they do at Wembley, and again in an away fixture against a team that are, well, struggling at the minute after an early start in Huddersfield really. You'd have to say that this is going to be another Tottenham win. Maybe not comfortable, but you'd expect them to score goals in this game, definitely. And if you're looking at goals from Tottenham, then there's no point looking past Harry Kane, obviously very expensive, but you haven't got him in your team by now. He really should be in there. And then backing him up, obviously, you've got Dele Alli, Christian Eriksen. Eriksen's only about a 75% to play this weekend through illness, but you'd have to think that's probably going to clear up by the weekend and that he will be in that starting 11. So they're the 2 main guys really from Tottenham so far this season. Like I said, they were a bit leaky in the second half and let that game slip from them against West Ham, so I wouldn't put any defenders in for them this week, but you'd have to expect a dominant performance from them. The second fixture then, we see Bournemouth playing at home to Leicester. Now they're both coming off the back of losses. Bournemouth obviously threw away a 1-0 lead against Everton last week, and Leicester City were quite unfortunate in my opinion not to come away with a result from Liverpool. Now, let's face it, both defences are looking very, very leaky at the minute. 5 goals conceded between the 2 of them last week, so you don't want to get any of their defenders in. And I'm not even sure you want to get any of their midfielders in really either, because none of them have been particularly consistent. The only people you can look at in this game is going to be Defoe versus Jamie Vardy, in my opinion. Defoe is obviously the cheaper option, but you'd expect Leicester to probably come out with a W this week. So you've got to edge it. Jamie Vardy, reasonably expensive, but I think he's guaranteed a goal or 2 this weekend. Poor Crystal Palace, hey? 6 games, 6 losses, 0 goals scored, and now they've got a trip to Old Trafford. So obviously you're going to expect this to be a very comfortable performance, very similar to what we saw from Man City playing them last week. You have to think there's probably going to be a resolute half in there from Crystal Palace before finally tiring, and Man U really turning that screw in towards the end of the game, as they have been doing at home a lot this season. So obviously we're expecting goals. You've got Romelu Lukaku, very obvious option but very expensive, but when he's guaranteed a goal, he's definitely worth that money. In midfield then you've got Mkhitaryan as well. He's going to be the main source of assists, putting balls into that box for Lukaku all day long, looking to break down that defence. And then a bit of a cheaper option if you want goals, Marcus Rashford is obviously, he's not been as prominent as Romelu Lukaku this season, but he takes a lot of set pieces as well, got lovely whips on him, and also got a finish and a goal or 2 in his bag as well. So he might be a good cheaper option for him because he should really start in that kind of game. Obviously any defender, and David De Gea probably going to keep a clean sheet this week, so keep them in or add 1 or 2 more if you've got the money for that. And yeah, if you've got a Crystal Palace player in your squad, then what are you even doing? Now the next game is going to be quite a tight one. We've got Stoke playing at home to Southampton. Now Stoke were obviously very disappointing, losing 4-0 to Chelsea at the weekend. Southampton still struggling to score goals, but they did put in a good performance against Man United, only coming out 1-0 losers. So it's a tough one to call. Stoke, I think at home obviously it's a difficult place to go, but their defence is absolutely shot to pieces at the minute. Injuries everywhere, players unavailable, and that looked unbelievably leaky against Chelsea at the weekend. So in terms of attackers for them, obviously the only people you've really got, again, you've got Shaqiri, you've got Chippenwateng. You'd have to think that they're probably the 2 that are going to look most likely to score for Stoke this weekend. And for Southampton, obviously they have been struggling for goals, but if they're going to get goals, then, well, against the Stoke defence, and this is the Stoke defence that they're going to be scoring goals against. Shane Long, not too expensive. He has been starting ahead of Gabbiadini. And then in the midfield, obviously, you've got Tadic and Stephen Davis, who is very cheap and might be a good shout, actually. He's only about 5.5 mil. And he has been popping up with goals and looking quite likely for them. And he's captain as well, so a real captain's performance could be needed for Southampton to try and steal a win in this one. Now, the next one is also a very tricky game to call, but one that I don't think guarantees goals at all. We've got West Brom playing at home to Watford. Now, West Brom obviously coming off the back of a loss, but you'd expect them to be a lot stronger defensively at home than they were against Arsenal. But the problem with West Brom is that they really don't put much attacking threat forward, basically playing with two out balls, hoping that one of them can hold up the ball and try and make something out of nothing, really. So if it is going to be a ball draw, obviously you want to stick with your West Brom defenders. You've got Hegazi, you've got Craig Dawson, you've got Gareth McCauley if he comes back from injury. For the away team, Watford, they've been a bit of a surprise package this season, but you can't really mark down one person who's been their real danger man. I mean, you can pick anyone from Andre Gray, Doucouré, Richard Leeson, all been playing very, very well and popping up with the odd goal here and there. Andre Gray, now he's got his first, maybe he might go on and be buoyed by that, get himself a goal in this game. But I think it's going to be a very tight game, decided probably by one goal or could even be a ball draw. So I'd probably stay away from it, to be honest. The next, we've got a massive fixture in the Premier League. Probably not a massive fixture for you, but it is a massive fixture for me, and definitely for these two clubs. You've got West Ham playing at home to Swansea. Now, West Ham 3-2 losers at home in the London derby last Saturday. Swansea losing at home to Watford, and both teams are struggling as it stands in the season. For me, obviously, being a West Ham fan, I'm going to say that West Ham should really win this one at home against Swansea. If they don't, it's going to be very, very worrying for me and the club. But it's all going to be about formation. Michail Antonio got injured early against Tottenham when we were actually playing quite well. The formation changed up. Javier Hernandez stopped playing through the middle and started playing out on the left, and that's where we really started to struggle. He did still pop up with a goal at the end, but you'd like to think that maybe they're probably going to bring Ayew in on that right hand side for where Antonio was and start Javier Hernandez through the middle again. And if they do start that, then I can see Hernandez definitely being goals in this game. And for 7.2 mil, he's definitely worth sticking in there for this game week. West Ham have got a nice run of fixtures coming up in the next 6 or 7 weeks. So if he can start scoring goals consistently, then we should be alright and he should be good points. Elsewhere in the West Ham team, though, there's not really a lot to look for. I mean, obviously Kyoto popped up with a goal, but he's not going to be doing that every week. Arnautovic, he's just so hot and cold that he's, for like the 7 million that he is, putting him in there is just a risk, because he's either going to be on form and he's going to get a couple of goals, be man of the match, or he's going to go missing and be a complete waste of time. So he's a risk, but occasionally a risk worth taking. From Swansea, you've not really got a lot to look at. Tammy Abraham is the only person that I've been kind of consistently saying all season for Swansea is going to do well, because just of his work rate and because he's capable of making something out of nothing. So maybe stick him in there, but I'd like to think this is going to be a comfortable 2-0 win for West Ham, maybe. The final game on the Saturday is probably a bigger fixture in your eyes. We've got Chelsea playing at home to Man City. Now, obviously, they were the two comfortable winners of the last game week. Had some big performance in their teams as well. And in terms of the league as well, they are up at the top. So it is a massive, massive fixture to kind of see where both teams really are at the minute. None of them have been particularly tested as it is this season. So it will definitely be a very interesting game. I would like to say that it's probably, you can think maybe Man City might just edge it. Chelsea, obviously, still missing a few players from suspensions and injuries. They're probably going to set up very, very defensively and look for those outballs attacking forward through Pedro, Willian, Hazard, Morata. But obviously Morata coming off the back of a hat-trick, and a lot of that he did create himself, so I wouldn't rule him out scoring again in this game. And when we look at Man City, again, there's just a plethora of players to pick from. And you think it's very much going to be a case of their ability to break down the opposition. And if you're looking at players who are going to break down the opposition, then obviously you've got Kevin De Bruyne, David Silva, Sergio Aguero. That little trio in there are capable of making something out of nothing, just picking that perfect little pass to cut through what is going to be a very, very solid Chelsea back line. Also, Leroy Sané in massively good form at the minute. Finally got a start at the weekend. Whether he's going to carry on starting again, you think they might want a bit of a more defensive option out on that left-hand wing. Then he may be put back on the bench, would be really unfortunate for him. So you can't really stray away from the main core of these two teams. And for me, that's going to be, like I said, David Silva, Kevin De Bruyne, Sergio Aguero, Alvaro Morata, probably Pedro, and I think maybe pushing for Hazard to start this one. I think it's going to be goals. I think we're looking at maybe a 2-1 or a 2-2, potentially in favour of Man City. So definitely worth keeping a couple of those players in if you have got them in already, as I think it could be an absolute cracker. The first fixture on the Sunday then we see Arsenal playing at home to Brighton. Now Brighton did obviously have a very good win against Newcastle at the weekend, a 1-0. But that seems like they're probably the maximum of what they're capable of, really. Playing away from home, you think it's going to be a lot more difficult for them, especially playing away at Arsenal, who did win at home 2-0 against West Brom at the weekend. Kind of stumbled across the line. It was by no means a fantastic performance by Arsenal, but a comfortable performance nonetheless. And when you're looking at players in this game, you can't look past Lacazette, really. He could be definitely worth a punt for another couple of goals, maybe even a hat-trick this weekend. Other than that, from the Arsenal team, you've got some defenders that have been playing quite well, like Kolasinac, Monreal, Bellerin, but they are quite expensive defenders. But you'd like to think you'd get a clean sheet from them. Other than that, there's nobody that's really been that consistent. Mesut Ozil hasn't been starting. Alexis Sanchez hasn't been setting the world on fire. Aaron Ramsey is a cheaper option at about 8 mil, but again, not going to be a consistent performer. Right then, moving on to Everton versus Burnley. Now, obviously, Everton had a very, very good come-from-behind win against Bournemouth at the weekend. That was brought about by the bringing on of Oumar Niasse. Now, obviously, he had not had a very good Everton career to this point whatsoever, but now everybody loves him, scores 2 goals in 10 minutes, and everything else is completely forgotten. And the thing with him, he's an absolute steal, 5.6 million. This could be a complete one-off performance, but if he's going to run on, even if he just has a run of 3 or 4 games where he plays well, gets some assists and the odd goal, at 5.6 million, he's definitely worth getting in your squad, and getting in your squad now. I mean, even if just for a bench player, you don't mind having a 5.6 million player on your bench if he's going to potentially pop up with the odd goal. So that's definitely got to be the tip for this week. If you want to back him now. So it's probably even just as likely that he'll never score another goal for Everton again. But oh well, that's the risk that you take in these games if you want to get the points. Otherwise, for Everton, obviously you've got Rooney, and Sigurdsson's not actually done a lot, but surely he's got to start performing soon. He's quite expensive though, so it's a big risk if that's what you're going to take. Looking at Burnley then, away from home, not full of goals this season. Obviously another 0-0 last week. Chris Wood is about the only player that looks likely to be a consistent goal scorer for them. Robbie Brady as well obviously takes a lot of the set pieces. Very, very good free kick on him as well, so he is the odd player that can make something out of nothing. The final game of game week 7, and it's a game that back in the 90s used to be a real fixture to mark on your calendar. Newcastle playing at home to Liverpool. We have 5 falls all over the place, 4 threes. Some of the best games that I've ever seen in my life, definitely. And yeah, it's not quite the fixture that it used to be, but it still should be a very good fixture nonetheless. Playing at home at St James's Park, the atmosphere will be brilliant. But unfortunately for Newcastle fans, I can't see much else than a reasonably comfortable Liverpool win, because I know Liverpool have been very fragile at the back, but Newcastle haven't been much better going forwards. Joselu doesn't look like he can hit barn door from 5 paces, and they've not got a lot in that central midfield position backing them up. Matt Ritchie really about the only player that has been consistently getting balls into dangerous places in the box, and normally they've been relying on Jamal Lascelles at the back, who has been a rock in fairness to get on the end of them. So maybe that's going to be their only way of getting in what is, let's face it, a weak Liverpool defence, especially from set pieces, that Matt Ritchie, Jamal Lascelles combination. But that's happened a lot more recently. You've got to think they've got to be looking out for that, and if they concede through, that means then that is just really, really poor work from Klopp and Liverpool. So you'd have to think it's going to be goals, but the main goals are going to come from Liverpool. And when you're looking at Liverpool, you've got to look at Mohamed Salah at the minute. About 9.1, 9.2 million, but definitely worth it, scoring a lot of goals and creating a lot of goals as well. Especially with that bit of pace, he could really cause Newcastle trouble. And then we've got Sadio Mane coming back into the side. Obviously this will be his first game since the Man City red card, so this could be a massive fixture for him coming. I think he probably will end up coming straight back into the lineup, because he'll be hungry to get in on the performance and get himself a goal as well. Salah is, say, they're both about 9.1, 9.2. I think Mane might be 9.4 million, so they're around the same price. But Salah is definitely the safe option in that game. So then, having a look then at my little predicted team of the week, unsurprisingly, a lot of players in there from Tottenham and Manchester United. A few more expensive options as well. You've got there from Arsenal and Liverpool in Lacazette and Salah. Looking at that Chelsea Man City game, very, very difficult to pick a few players from them, but I have done that, and there are a few in there. If you're looking for your bargains for the week, you've definitely got to look at that West Ham game, that Everton game, and that West Brom Watford game. So that is it then for another episode of Fantasy Fortunes. Now, unfortunately, after this game week, we do have another international break. I know I hate them as much as you do. But yeah, we will have a little 2-week break in the game. So this is a good chance to get yourself up that table, up ahead of your mates before we do have that 2 weeks off. As always, give me a little comment down below and give me a like as well if you have enjoyed this video. Comment with any players that you think I've missed out, anyone you think that is going to massively perform in terms of teams or players that I haven't mentioned. Whether you're thinking of using any of your little bonus as well, like obviously you still got your bench boost and your triple captains. And talking of captains, who is your big shout for captain this week? Let me know in the comments below and I will see you in a couple of weeks.